Our guest speaker today is Katie Davidson. She's a reporter for the Pierce County Herald. She does sports and news for the Herald. There was a great, very well done interview she did. I don't know if you saw that in the St. Croix Current a couple of months ago. That interviewed her, and I read it, and I felt that she'd be a great speaker. She has a great, because any good speaker, guest speaker that we have here has a great story to tell, and I believe that she does. She's been at the Herald for a year, and she's continue on to this year as the sports season starts up. She is from Crookston, Minnesota, and she went to college at Augsburg, Minneapolis. She competed in cross country there for the Augies. And so she's an athlete, she's a great basketball fan, and I think we're going to have a great treat today. So without further ado, here's Katie Davidson.
First of all, thank you guys for having me here today. Like Sean said, my name is Katie. You probably either recognize me maybe from a Prescott sporting event or recognize my name from a byline in the Herald, but like Sean said, I'm from Crookston, and Crookston is about 8,000 people, which I thought was small until I came to Pierce County, but just from growing up in Crookston and then moving to the Twin Cities, I love being back in a small town community. You can't beat it, but after Crookston, I moved on to Augsburg, where I studied communications and English. And then about 5 months after graduation, I got a call from Sarah, my editor, and now I'm here. But before I get to my speech, I just want to say that this past year of sports reporting, I could not have asked for more successful teams. I think I went down to Madison like 5 times this past year, which is great, but also just the greatest kids. I mean, you guys, I don't know what you're feeding them athletically, but wish I would have had that in high school too, but they're great kids, great coaches, great administrators, great educators, and great fans too, so I want to thank you guys for that and just for welcoming me. But now that I've tried to snooze you over a little bit, I will get to my speech. So a little less than 6 years ago now, I was standing in front of Crookston's Lions Club, accepting a Student of the Month award the September of my senior year of high school. And there I told them, obviously thanked them in my speech, and just told them about my plans for after high school graduation. And I told them that I planned on attending college in the Twin Cities, and that I also wanted to pursue a career in sports journalism. And I'm in the very small minority of high school kids whose career aspirations actually pan out. But at the time I told them, I specifically said that I wanted to go into sports journalism just because I was enthralled with the idea of getting paid to watch and write about my favorite sports, but also tell the stories of high school kids, coaches, fans, community members, and be able to write about that too. But over this past year, I've also gained a greater importance or different realization about why being a female sports reporter is such an important thing, and just have gained a greater appreciation for this job. But I got a kind of a reminder about that just last month. I started working on this article that was actually just published yesterday about what it's like to officiate in the WIAA and the Minnesota State High School League. So I just reached out to local officials and asked them about their experiences, kind of wanted to get a feel for what it's like officiating as someone who has never done that before. So I asked them about the challenges of the job and just what they would like to see change about it. And a reoccurring theme was just the lack of females that are in the profession. And some people, of course, went to the stereotype as after I asked them why they thought this was. They said they thought maybe women weren't strong enough or didn't have the necessary thick skin to really excel in a career that's so high pressure and where your judgment is scrutinized at every moment. But then I wasn't exactly happy with these responses, so I looked for more. And I got in touch with Megan Challoner. She works in Elmwood School District, and I worked with her last year. She coaches volleyball there. but she's also an official and has been for about 10 years. But she just said, when I asked her this, she said that she thinks women are strong enough, we have thick skin, but more so that women just don't know that this is a profession that, the officiating is a profession that's an option for them, really. Because young girls, when they're participating in sports at a young age, most of the time I would say that they're officials, they're umpires, they're refs, they're male. And because of that, at a young age, girls can easily be led to believe that that's not a profession that is an option for them, or that's just males only. And so as Megan was saying this, I just kind of had this realization that that could definitely be said about sports journalism too. But Megan just told me that she specifically asks to cover girls basketball, she does volleyball and softball too, just so that these young girls can see her and that she can show them that this is an option out there for them too. And that's really what I want to do with sports journalism too. I want your girls in Prescott to see that I'm out there interviewing coaches and players, writing, getting to go to games and getting paid for it. I want them to see that that's an option too. But I think that Megan's words really just kind of struck me, or stuck with me, I guess, because I grew up in a household where being a girl, it was okay to love sports, and I was never made fun of, or my opinions or my takes about sports were never demeaned or anything like that. I remember I fell in love with sports almost forcibly at first, because I remember my brother, with him, SportsCenter was always on TV, and at first I didn't kind of challenged him a little bit, but I started to have a deeper love for sports, not just playing it, but just hearing the analysis and looking at statistics and highlight reels and just different takes from different commentators. I just really fell in love with that. And I was lucky because my brother never ever put me down, like I said, for my belief in sports, or he never diminished what I had to say about it. He'd come to me, we'd be watching NBA Finals games, and he'd say, what do you think they're gonna do at this last second shot or this last play? And he always let me know that my opinion mattered. But it wasn't just him either. I grew up with, of the 7 cousins, I'm the only girl, so there's a lot of playing touch football in the backyard, wiffle ball, baseball, basketball, you name it, whatever. But they always included me, and it was never even a thought for them that I wouldn't want to play because I was a girl, or that I wouldn't be good enough, or anything like that. So thankfully that was instilled in me, excuse me, at a young age. And then again, another example of this, I started writing for my hometown's local newspaper when I was a sophomore in high school, and I remember the first column that I wrote was about my dismay with LeBron James, arguably the best basketball player ever, leaving Cleveland for the first time and going to Miami, and just leaving his home state, and just how upset I was about that. But I was lucky that my editor, my boss, he always let me write about sports, and that was never out of the question. So I was lucky enough to be surrounded by people who encouraged my love for sports and always took me seriously, but that's not always the case for young girls. And I don't know, excuse me, if I would be where I am today had it not been for those people. But I will say that there are some times where in this first year for sports reporting, I felt like maybe I was treated differently because I was a female, and they're just very small instances, or not very significant, but I mean, I remember, like, excuse me, almost every state tournament I went to, the people handing out media credentials or the security guards would be kind of shocked that I was there not to just take photographs, but that I was also writing about sports, interviewing the players and coaches, and giving my take on everything. And another instance, this past winter, a basketball coach, who I won't name, he just looked kind of shocked after I asked him after his game in our post-game interview. I asked him about what he thought about his team's improvement in their dribble penetration in the second half. And I think he was just kind of taken aback just to get a more detailed question like that. Obviously didn't mean anything intentionally to put me down or anything, but he just kind of got like one of those faces that was probably just his initial reaction. And those are just small things, and it might have just been me being insecure, not really knowing if that was really their intention. But when girls at a young age get those kind of reactions, they start to maybe think that this isn't what's for them, or that their opinions don't matter when it comes to sports, or that they don't know as much as men, which is not true. And it's gotten better as far as like from when I was younger. I could probably count the amount of women I saw on ESPN, and now it's quadrupled probably, but I guess still those women sometimes are just there as mediators, but who kind of control the debates between two men who are giving their opinions about sports, and the woman, of course, doesn't always get to share her opinion, but it's just there. Or you get sideline reporters a lot, like Erin Andrews. I know she's been really criticized a lot, and when she was starting out, they just said that, a lot of fans just said that she was just there because of her looks, and that that was the only reason she was there, not because of her knowledge of the game. And then you get fans who say that certain reporters aren't attractive enough, and they just judge them because of that, which is not fair completely. And of course, it's not just fans either. Just last year, Cam Newton, who's a very profound NFL quarterback for the Panthers, after one of their games, in a press conference, a female reporter just asked him, she was just asking him about the physicality of his receivers and how they're running their routes, and asked him what he thought about that. And he just kind of paused and laughed at her and said, "Sorry, it's just funny to hear a female ask about routes." And like, that's just heartbreaking. But for her, she stood up and tweeted out something, I don't know if it was that day or later, but just said, "I don't think it's funny. I think it's my job to ask about routes." But just to imagine, like, she's probably already the minority in that press conference room, surrounded by probably mostly males, and then to be put down by someone who's looked up to in the NFL, that's heartbreaking. But so of course there's a lot of progress that's left to be made, but I want to be a part of that progress. And obviously I'm not on some big stage like the women I just spoke about are, but it all starts at the lower level, and I want your girls in Prescott and the rest of Pierce County to see me and just to know that this is an option. Because, I mean, I fell in love with sports at a young age, not just playing, but just the stories behind them, the drama, the intensity, the nerdy stuff like the statistics, and comparing that to. And I want that to be an option for your girls too. So I'm going to do my part, but after my spiel today, my challenge for you guys is to also begin to normalize that for the girls in your lives, your daughters, granddaughters, nieces, sisters, friends, whoever. Excuse me. And you guys already do a great job of supporting your female teams out here, getting girls involved in PCR athletics at a young age, but when they come to you, and maybe obviously don't force sports reporting on them or jobs like that, but just don't act surprised, don't raise your eyebrows in shock when they say that this is something that they want to do. I hope you guys really encourage it too. But yeah, and I guess I just wanted to end by saying that I am willing to talk to anyone who is interested in sports reporting, girls or boys. Obviously I'm a rookie at this and still learning, but it's something I'm really passionate about, and I'd like to see more females involved in too. So that's all I have for you guys today. Yes.
I've got questions for you. No, I wanted to add to what you did. A number of years ago, probably 20 years ago, I was coaching Hastings basketball, and we went to a clinic in downtown Minneapolis, and it was a one-man clinic, Bobby Knight. And for those of you that don't remember, very volatile. And it was an incredible clinic. He was very good with, you know, the strategies, etc. But you had to be there. He recognized, and there weren't many women in the audience, but there were about 4 or 5. And just to give you an idea of how this is changing now, he went into, once he noticed they were there, he went into his good old boy network and he started using the F-bomb consistently, over and over, basically to ridicule, to embarrass, in hoping that they would leave. It was amazing because there were a few sports reporters in there that night that we eventually had a chance to talk to, and they were all afraid to really confront him with that and just using that, but he was part of the pattern at that time versus now. I really see things changing. I remember I reffed girls basketball probably 15, 20 years ago, and I had some of those attitudes that the level of play wasn't very good, a lot of the rules, but I think it's pretty even footing now and stuff like that. I think it's changing. I think it'll be easier for you. I give you credit for being able to, I'm sure you heard some stuff when you were interviewing about the official things, so I can just imagine. Yeah. So good for you. Thanks for sharing that today.
Thank you guys.
Just to emphasize the point that you made, and I was talking to 2 of the volleyball players in Prescott today, interview. They do a lot during the off season. I mean, they not only were involved with camps and summer leagues in girls basketball, but volleyball too as well. So they do a lot. And I didn't ask them this, but they just blurted out they love sports. That's what they told me. I said, boy, the guys did a lot over the summer. He said, that's what we're here. We love to play the game. And so if that translates, as she said, it could very well translate once they graduate from high school or graduate from college to any number of careers involved in the sports fields, and there's so many of them: journalism, medicine, administration. So you can keep that in mind.
Yeah, for sure. And I should just say too, I would never, ever, ever want to just be hired for a job in sports journalism because of my gender, but also would not want to be counted out for one because of my gender either. But
what communities do you represent?
I cover Prescott, Ellsworth, Spring Valley, Elmwood, and Plum City. So, yes.
So I'm a track coach here. My wife's the head coach, so you've interviewed her multiple times. I gotta say, after state, she came out with the statistic that there were 6 girls who were freshmen running the 4x2 in the final, and 4 of them were our girls. Coming up with a statistic like that, it was absolutely amazing. Thank you for all your great coverage. It was a massive improvement from what we had before.
No, I appreciate that, and like I said, they could not have asked for a more entertaining first year here, so it's been great.
How about the other communities? Is there success going on in our county? Or?
I mean, wrestling, that never seems to be down in Ellsworth from what I've heard, but yeah, I think Elmwood and Plum City, their most successful runner, she just graduated last year, so that might be down a little bit, but they're working on, they co-op for a lot of teams too, just being smaller schools. I guess they haven't seen quite as much success as Ellsworth and Prescott, but they're working up there. In Spring Valley, they have really good, their wrestling has been strong too. They've had football, baseball teams. I really want to see those girls programs excel a little bit more. They've had a lot of coaching turnaround, which I know is hard on the players and the community, so yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm always happy to see women who, are trying to make a difference in fields that are really dominated by men. But what I was wondering is, do you ever get a chance to speak like in a careers class or speak individually to women and to girls so many girls, I think, it's getting better certainly than when I was, your age or even their age. But so often they don't get to actually talk to someone, and you do have a story to tell, and it's a good story to tell. But do you get some opportunities to go one-on-one or with a group in a class or just a group of girls to say, I'm in a non-traditional role right now, which won't be forever, we hope, but these are things you can consider. It's kind of nice to be a groundbreaker, but you have to keep advancing that all the time and using every opportunity you can to bring that message to girls.
Yeah, this is honestly the first time I've really spoken about it to a group. I mean, I don't know any other girls, even from college, who are pursuing sports journalism, which is sad, but I would be more than willing to chat with anyone.
Yeah, I hope that word gets out. I know we have a good careers class at Prescott High School. I hope you're one of the speakers that might be talking there, and any chances you get to even talk to teams of girls.
Yeah.
That yours is a message that needs to be heard.
Thank you. And
Not
I
just
would,
to see you, but to actually hear your story, so they know that there's a chance for them too, to not necessarily to be a sports reporter or do that, but there's a lot of non-traditional careers, but it's hard to be groundbreakers in those careers without the encouragement and sort of the influence of others who've gone before them.
for sure. Yeah, I completely agree. And we would be more than willing to talk to anyone, so.
Yeah, good.
Thank you so much for your time.